This episode is made possible by Nielsen. Behind every good decision is great data, because when you're prepared, there are no surprises. Empower your decision-making with Nielsen's 2024 Upfronts Newfronts guide. Visit nielsen.com for more information.
That's the interesting thing, because, when a company is that big, they're thinking of ways to put it to use, right? And right there are opportunities. Whether or not that will be allowed or, given approval, that's another thing.
Hey gang, it's Tuesday, March 5th. Gadjo, Jacob, and listeners, welcome to the Behind the Numbers Daily, an e-marketer podcast made possible by Nielsen. I'm Marcus. Today I'm joined by two folks. Both of them are writers for our connectivity and tech briefing. One of them is an analyst who hangs out on the left side of the country. We call him Jacob Bourne.
Hey, Marcus. Thanks for having me.
Hey, fella. Thank you for hanging out. We're also joined by one of our senior analysts. He's on the right-hand side of America. It's Gadjo, Sevilla.
Hey, Marcus. Happy to be back.
Hey, fella. Happy to have you. Today's fact, gents. Who invented the sandwich? Do you guys know who invented the sandwich?
The Earl of Sandwich, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to wow you. They're like, yeah, we know.
It's one of those little unforgettable facts. Oh, there was somebody.
How do you guys even know this? See, he's from England.
Right. Yes.
All right.
They do teach us about, UK history.
Well played, as well.
It was the story that he was too busy romancing people that he couldn't sit down to eat, so he just invented the sandwich.
I heard he had demanded the invention. He was bored with his food and demanded his servants whip him up something that was interesting and different. That's the story.
Okay, so here's I do have how it happens here, or allegedly how it happened. So 1762, John Montagu, the 4th Earl of Sandwich. Sandwich is a place in Kent, which is in the lower kind of right-hand corner, southeast of England. As the story goes, so the Earl of Sandwich was playing cards and didn't want to leave the gaming table to eat. It appears he was quite a big gambler. He asked for a serving of roast beef to be placed between 2 slices of bread so he could eat with his hands, and the sandwich was born.
Okay.
But, basically what you guys said. All right. I was so excited about this one. And everyone already knows. Fair enough. Today's real topic, merging humans with computers. In today's episode, first in the lead, we'll cover what happens when you combine humans with AI. What could go wrong? Then, for another news, we'll discuss what happens when ChatGPT remembers things and Gemini's rough start. We start, of course, with the lead, and we're talking about what happens when you combine human beings with artificial intelligence. Or brain chip startup Neuralink is looking into this. It was founded by ex-Tesla and SpaceX owner Elon Musk and a bunch of neuroscientists back in 2016. And in May of last year, the company received FDA approval to start testing its brain implant technology in humans living with quadriplegia due to a spinal cord injury or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS. In September of last year, it received approval to recruit for the human clinical trial. And a few months after that, Neuralink announced that the first human ever had received a brain implant from the company, or it's a brain-computer interface, as it's called, BCI. Jacob Knutson of Axios explains that the device was implanted into the brain by a surgical robot that looks like a sewing machine with cameras, sensors, and a needle that's thinner than a human hair. Neuralink says the patient or subject is recovering well, and that initial results show promising neuron spike detection. That's the cellular activity between our brains and our nervous systems. A week or two after this, the company announced that the patient has fully recovered and is able to control a computer mouse using their thoughts, aka interpreting a person's neural activity so you can operate a computer simply by intending to move the mouse cursor. Gents, the first question just has to be initial reactions when you heard the first human ever has received a brain implant from Neuralink. Jacob.
Yeah, well, my reaction is that this is something potentially big for humanity. Now, a patient controlling a mouse, actually, that happened about 2 decades ago. So while there's probably some innovation here, that's kind of like old news. And so that's less of what makes me feel like this could be big for humanity.
Is this Matthew Nagel
I don't remember.
2006?
2004, I thought, actually. Yeah.
2004? I found a piece by Andrew Polak, the New York Times piece, around that time. Yeah, 2006 his piece was. And a chap with spinal cord paralysis who got a brain implant that let him control a computer cursor. And but the difference, Samuel of Vox was noting, the difference being that this brain implant was developed by a research consortium called BrainGate with only about 1/10 the number of electrodes as Neuralink's device. But yes, it does sound like a very similar action this individual's been able to do.
But I think the crucial thing about this is that you have a tech company, Neuralink, run by someone like Elon Musk, who has ambitions far beyond medical breakthroughs with this technology. Just last year, he posted on X saying, when Neuralink is combined with Optimus, which is Tesla's humanoid robot, the Luke Skywalker solution can become real. So that kind of gives you an indication that this is going to be more than just a treatment for paralysis or other medical conditions. And so
the Luke Skywalker situation being,
we're going to be equipped with like robotic-like enhancements in space, essentially.
Right. Luke Skywalker. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So referring to when he got his arm chopped off.
Right.
If you haven't seen the films, it's your own fault. You've had plenty of time. And he gets his arm chopped off and then he gets a robotic
so like
arm.
a bionic human type adaptations.
Exactly. Okay.
And so, yeah, that's apparently, I think where Musk wants to take us through Neuralink. And I think that's what's new about this story.
Okay. Gadjo, how about you?
So actually there's this US company called Synchron who beat Neuralink to the first trials for brain-computer interface back in 2022. That was a purely medical procedure. So, what came to my mind is that it's, like Jacob said, it's an Elon Musk company. So it could be a more aggressive player in the market, not just because of the limitless funding, but also because Musk does see it as a means to upgrade humans in many ways. So definitely to get approval, he has to clear, the medical applications. But his big picture, could be anything. I mean, it's really sky's the limit, which could be scary if you think about it.
Yeah. We're going to talk through some of those potential ambitions for Neuralink. But you're right. Yeah, Synchron, as you said, they did some work similar to this in 2022. They received FDA approval for human trials of brain-machine interfaces in 2021. So, yeah, a lesser known company, but similar work. My first reaction or initial reaction was, wow, because I don't follow this as closely as you two gents. And so, a lot of folks as well, they wouldn't have heard that this is possible, this has happened. So my initial reaction was just like, wow, they drilled a hole into someone's head and then put a chip into their brain with a needle thinner than human hair, and this person using their thoughts can now control things. But my next thought after doing some reading was this is very much just the first step, kind of what you're alluding to, I would argue. Tim Higgins of the Journal writing, the announcement itself marked an important step in this ambitious journey. It is a milestone similar to successfully launching the first rocket at SpaceX, and that was to lead up to Musk's effort to one day reach Mars, or delivering the first electric vehicle at Tesla, which is leading up to his goal of eventually ushering in a renewable energy world. So very much the first step here. Mr. Musk mentioned that Neuralink was now trying to get the brain implant patient to click the mouse button with their mind as many times as possible. But outside of that, or getting this individual to do other things with their mind, what is the next step for Neuralink?
It's hard to say. Actually, the medical community has been a bit concerned about the level of transparency it's been getting from Neuralink regarding this clinical trial, human trial. It's been less than what you'd expect for this type of trial going on. So I think if it's not fulfilling that basic level of transparency, then we're not really going to get a lot of detail on what it's doing next as a company. But I imagine that it's going to, Musk and the leaders at Neuralink are going to have their foot on the gas pedal in terms of advancing this. What we do know from when it was at the animal stage of research for, the brain-computer interface was that apparently, employees who worked for Neuralink said that the experiments were rushed and as a result caused unnecessary pain and suffering for some of the primates. And so, that's a concern, of course, now that we're working with humans. It's a concern on its own as well. But it begs the question, okay, is it going to continue to rush this technology?
Yeah. Yeah, next step. It seems like medical advancement is the route that they've gone down. Now, it's easier to get FDA approval for something like that than it is to put chips in humans' minds and get them to move things just for entertaining purposes. Neuralink's marketed the device as being able to treat neurological diseases and injuries. But it does seem as though, folks in these communities not convinced about Neuralink's altruism. But it's a shame because it does seem like a technology that could help a lot of folks in need. Over 5 million people live with paralysis in America, according to the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. That's a lot of people, but it does seem like there's quite a lot of skepticism in terms of the real intentions behind this. Gadjo, what do you see as the next step for the company?
I mean, it's a very limited segment, a few number of players in the market. I mean, they're not alone, but that just means lengthy training and standards testing before, the FDA can allow them to go further. And, to that, the FDA just, I think, announced today that they're not satisfied with how Neuralink has conducted, some of its tests. So they've taken issue with some of the methods that they're using and a lot of the tracking. So I think it's still definitely a long road ahead. However, people don't seem to be too convinced. Like a Pew Research paper said 78% of Americans said they would not want a computer chip implant that would allow them to better process information. So this is over and above, the medical applications, right? If it's just being offered as a way to upgrade your brain, maybe it's going to be a very hard sell just because it's new and it's super invasive as well.
Yeah. So aside from the potential health benefits helping people with paralysis, what are some other applications you could see folks using this technology for, getting excited about this technology?
I mean, I think some of the initial commercial applications we would see is people just interacting with their tech devices like smartphones and PCs, using their thoughts, whether it's like scrolling or clicking on something or opening an app. Now, all these devices are increasingly becoming AI enabled. So you can kind of envision, this would probably be a bit further out, but someone being able to kind of interact with like a ChatGPT, for example, a chatbot with their mind, and instead of having to access it directly on a device. And this is kind of in line with Musk's plan for an augmented human intelligence. Musk did say that this kind of technology could help kind of offset the kind of AI-related job losses that people are concerned about. Another way of seeing that is you won't have to worry about getting replaced by a computer if you become one, is the way I think about it. Another thing we could see is applications in VR and AR, making the technology more immersive, hyper-realistic, make it more of a sensory experience, not just purely visual, without the need for an external device. Now, that said, a couple of Neuralink's competitors at least have the same sort of interface, but it doesn't have to be invasive. In other words, it can sit on top of your skull instead of, be inserted inside of it. So that's a potential competitive factor for Neuralink, like Gadjo was saying, who wants this kind of invasive procedure. It might not necessarily have to be so invasive.
Yeah, because there are quite a few other companies in this space, right, which I hadn't heard about, but BlackRock Neurotech, Precision Neuroscience, Paradromics, Gadjo mentioned Synchron. Any other applications come to mind for you, Gadjo, with regards to this type of merging of the human brain and AI outside of the health benefits?
If you just take it within the context of the Elon-verse, his number of companies, right? So could this be the next step for autopilot on Tesla OS? Can you apply it to SpaceX manned missions for monitoring and controlling, personnel? I mean, that's the interesting thing because, when a company is that big, they're thinking of ways to put it to use, right? And right there are opportunities. Whether or not that will be allowed or, given approval, that's another thing. But certainly, I mean, once you get that first step, it wouldn't be too difficult to spread out to those areas.
So playing things forward and taking many more steps down this road. So Neuralink says its aim is to redefine the boundaries of human capability. That's what it says. But I'm wondering what you think of its actual kind of ultimate goal and why it's trying to get there. Merging the brain with AI does seem to be what it's trying to do. Bill Chappell of NPR points out Mr. Musk has previously spoken about the idea of a neural lace, which could add a symbiotic digital layer to the human brain, merging it with AI. This is a concept that Mr. Musk has taken from one of his favorite science fiction authors, Ian Banks, whose books focus on super intelligent AI. Why? Miss Samuel of Vox explaining that Mr. Musk thinks that because we are developing AI that will be smarter than us, kind of, Jacob, to what you were saying, the plan should be basically if you can't beat them, join them. Become an AI enhanced human yourself, and you'll be able to keep up with the pace of change. What do we make of this future, this vision that Neuralink has for humanity?
I mean, I think we just look back to Musk. What has Musk said? Because it's, again, a Musk-led company. And one of the things he talks about a lot is the potential threat that AI or artificial general intelligence, a super intelligent AI could have to humanity. And so I think one of his thoughts is to have this technology be a way to make AI and humans more symbiotic. So in other words, potentially solving that AI alignment problem where it's currently not in line with human values, but it could be. And maybe one way we get there is by having it be part of our brain. I think the other thing that Musk, again, you talked about this, Marcus, is how he talks a lot about humans becoming interplanetary species. That's one of his big focuses right now with SpaceX. SpaceX has become integral to NASA's work. And so I think this space exploration avenue is probably a big one for Neuralink in terms of having humans potentially control spacecraft, with their minds, or just having an AGI with you in space to help you overcome some of the unforeseen challenges that you're sure to encounter there. But I think, in general, I don't think we could talk about this technology without talking about the inherent digital privacy issue. And actually, the UN last year warned about the potential for this type of technology to make human thoughts, it would be the end of, privacy. No more, private internal thoughts. And so I think there is kind of like a mind reading angle to this too, in terms of what you could do if you really knew like what people are thinking all the time. And that's probably part of this involved.
Yeah. They were talking about the idea of a brain fingerprint. And there are some countries that have used that type of technology. Basically, it seemed like it was a lie detector, but for your brain. And so they could show you pictures, and if your brain activity went crazy, then it showed that you knew the person. If it didn't, it showed that you didn't know the person, as well as the idea of, so your thoughts being kind of taken from you, but also the idea of what happens if this thing gets hacked? What happens if it can control the information that you're taking in, or maybe control your emotions one way or another? So some pretty dystopian futures.
Yeah. And if you look right now, what's happening with tech companies trying to get data for AI model training, I mean, think about the amount of data they get from this type of interface where they have a steady feed of human thoughts. I mean, it would be incredible.
Yeah. We've seen this type of technology, as you mentioned, for a while with Matthew Nagel back in 2006, controlling the computer cursor with his mind. And then we've got, as many folks I was reading, already using neural implants that are similar to pacemakers to treat seizures that do not respond to medications. So there's technologies out there, but who's using it and how they're using it obviously is a big part. It's the Pentagon as well, previously devoting funds to explore the potential for military applications. Good God. All right, that's all we've got time for the lead. We'll leave the conversation there. I'm sure we will be revisiting it very, very soon. Time for the second half of the show today in other news. What happens when ChatGPT remembers things and Gemini's rough start? Story 1. What happens when ChatGPT remembers things? OpenAI is adding a feature that lets ChatGPT remember information about individual users and apply it to future chats, notes Axios' Ina Fried. Think ChatGPT, but with a memory. They note that the feature is rolling out to a small number of free and paid ChatGPT Plus subscribers. First, users can see what ChatGPT is storing as memories and opt to delete certain ones. If they want to, folks can also opt out of the memory feature entirely. But Jacob, what's the impact of ChatGPT being able to remember things you have previously told it?
I mean, I think this is really a prompt enhancing feature. In other words, you don't have to put as much effort into your prompt if ChatGPT already knows a lot about you in terms of what you usually prompt about, what kind of output you want to get, details about you as a user. So it really saves a lot of time. Hopefully it would result in better, more useful output. The other thing is, if we look at OpenAI's goals, specifically CEO Sam Altman wants to build a super smart personal assistant. The startup is also working with AI agents that can take actions for you on your computer in the background, like booking flights, for example. In order to do that successfully, the AI would have to have a good working memory to know about your preferences and what you want so that you don't have to prompt it. It would be able to act more autonomously if it's able to remember more information.
Yeah. Story 2. Gemini's rough start. Google suspended part of its latest AI technology, Gemini, after a user recently asked the AI to generate images of a German soldier in 1943. And eventually, it churned out a picture of several images of people of color in German World War II uniforms. The AI also created an image of the US founding fathers, which inaccurately included a person of color as well. But Gadjo, what do you make of this recent story?
So the easy answer is that, Google's Gemini has been overcorrecting to avoid white bias. And the result is the opposite. So it's skewed towards people of color to be more inclusive in their image generated results. But I think the big issue here is Gemini wasn't striving for accuracy. Rather, it was editorializing the results of these prompts. And so that reflects really the greater problem with tech companies being the arbiters of content, since the AI is only as good as the data it's trained on. Mm-hmm. And, for Google, it really doesn't bode well for them because Gemini is essentially a take two of Bard. And so they've had a year to improve. It was supposed to be better. And we're starting to see that it isn't perfect. And it also doesn't help that Gemini is being touted as the replacement for Google Search and Assistant, which are key products for Alphabet.
Yeah, that's all we've got time for today's episode. Gents, thank you as always. Thank you to Gadjo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to Jacob.
Thanks, Marcus.
And thank you to Victoria, who edits the show, James, Stewart, and Sophie, the rest of the podcast crew. And thanks to everyone for listening in to the Behind the Numbers Daily, an eMarketer podcast made possible by Nielsen. You can hang out with Sarah Lebo tomorrow, host of the Reimagining Retail show, where she'll be speaking with our very own Susie David Canyon and Nancy Youssef at Soul for Souls, all about sustainability in retail.